James, every pastor wants to be successful, whatever that is, whatever that's seen in the eyes of the church, even in the world. I mean, every pastor will admit that they want to be seen as successful, even faithful in the midst of that. How does a pastor identify when that pursuit of success, or that pursuit of just competency, whatever it may be, when does it shift over into idolatry? And how do they recognize that?
Yeah, it's difficult to recognize it. And it happens so subtly often. We're aiming for the right types of things. We want lost people to be saved. We want people to be discipled. We want sermons that have impact. We want a ministry that's reaching our community. And these all sound like these are the right types of things. But there's this subtle line that blurs when we have an affection for that result more than we have an affection for Christ and for His work in those people. And so often the line gets blurred when we stop loving the individual people we're seeking to reach or to disciple, and we love the idea of people that we're seeking to reach and or disciple. And so it becomes blurred when we want an outcome more than we love the people in whom God is working. And so yeah, it's hard to recognize it. You have to do some introspection and have some accountability.
I appreciate you highlighting it in that way, because I get concerned, and actually working at a seminary context, I see this quite often. It's almost like somebody getting ready to launch into ministry has a love for the idea of what they're doing versus the people that they will care for. So I really like that. That's a really helpful point, I think, to recognize the idolatry is once the love for those people and caring for them, and that being the end, to honor Christ by caring well for them on His behalf. That can really be the place, isn't it, to become self-aware of, I'm in a good centered place in my motivations in doing that. Once you start losing love for the people and become enamored by what you want to see happen in your church, that's where you can slide into idolatry pretty quickly, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. You can mask the idolatry too under the blanket of this self-righteous idea that I'm wanting the right things. I want the church to grow because I want to see more people come to Christ. But you really don't have a love for those individuals who are meeting Christ and being transformed by Him. What you are in love with is the quantity of the people who would do that and the way it would reflect on you.
Now, my experience with when ministry became idolatrous to me in a season, the way it showed up in my life was I basically wrecked my family. I did not make them the priority. I did not balance that out. Ministry became so important. And like you said, you can hide behind that because this is a good thing to want to pursue and be consumed by. But it made me make bad, unwise decisions towards caring for my family. And that's how I identified it in my own life at different times. Have you ever identified it in your life, and what did it show up like?
Yeah, what disappointed me. So the things that you love will create disappointment when you don't get them. And so when you see evidence that God is working, but you're disappointed because He's not working in the way that you would have wanted, or it's not producing an outward result that you would have wanted. So people are being shaped by the preaching of the Word, but multitudes of people are not being shaped by the preaching of the Word. And so it's not enough that you're being faithful and that God is using it. It's because He's not using it in the way that you would want Him to, or it's not the result. And so it showed up in disappointment. The things that disappointed me shouldn't have disappointed me, and yet they did.
So this really comes back to also then how we define success, doesn't it? I mean, what our expectation is, and even how we define success, because if our definition of success, I don't even really like that word very much, is to be faithful, I would say that's one more biblically aligned. I think it also is a protection from this becoming idolatrous, right? Because faithfulness, depending on how you define it, is going to be different in most cases than this worldly success that we put in front of ourselves that we expect to see in our ministries. Then we get disappointed when we don't meet that place.
No, the definition of success is key to it. And most pastors will leave seminary with the right outward definition of what they say success is. But the key to it would be how they balance it with their families, what really disappoints them, what do they really love. That'll be exposed in ministry.
And have somebody in your life who's not impressed with you, who can call you out when you get imbalanced in the idolatry.
Yeah, that's right.